Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for October 17th, 2018. The first order of business is to consider the minutes for approval from the prior meeting of September 19th, 2018. Did everybody have an opportunity to review the meeting minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Tim, I know you made some edits, and I think they've been incorporated.
They have been incorporated.
Okay. I reviewed them. I didn't see anything wrong with them. So any comments, concerns, questions?
No.
No? All right. Without that, I will make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes presented to us for the meeting of September 19th, 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, carried. All right, the second matter on our agenda is the one piece of new business we have, and that is in the, is it Chowdhury? Chowdhury case? Come on up. The way this works is you filed your application. We're going to go through it, and I'd ask that you come up to the stand there, and if you could just give your name and explain to us, take us through the application. That's really what we're doing here, is just to see if the application is sufficient so that we can accept it or not. And so that's what we're doing tonight. Okay?
Okay, so good evening. My name is Koes Chowdhury.
Okay.
I came in Rhinebeck 2002, and I started an Indian restaurant business, fine dining Indian cuisine in Route 9, 5856. So my 3 kids, they grow up here,
Okay.
in high school, middle school. And I actually start open again. So I started renovation last summer. And I did change the paint, change the put sign, internet, telephone, everything. And I did remove all carpet, some equipment. I want to get a new carpet, new equipment, new painting already done. So, and then I stopped because I am doing another business in Dunkin' Donut business. So they give me too much pressure. I have to finish this renovation, otherwise I get a defaulter because I have some franchise agreement.
Okay, the property we're talking about, if you don't mind me asking, what is it you intend to open? What type of restaurant? Is it going to be like
same finding Indian cuisine?
an Indian cuisine?
And it is since 1997. My cousin ran 5 years. It was Mughal Raj. And then my cousin, somehow the partnership happened. So the restaurant was closed 2 years. And then I opened. And I ran 5 years, and then I rent it out. So then the tenant, I don't renew the lease. I told them I need to open the restaurant. So they move out. After they move out, I start renovation last summer. So when Dunkin' give me pressure, I have to finish this renovation. So I stopped this job, renovation. And now I finished my Dunkin' renovation. So I started to put new carpet and equipment. So in the meantime, I called town zoning board. Do I need any permit or anything? Because I have to go health department and town if they need anything. So they say, let me ask board chairman. So then say, yes, you have a grandfather law is 1 year if you close, so you need a permit. So then I come and file the application and fee, because I don't know even grandfather law, those stuff, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
2011, it was closed more than years, and
Right.
I open again.
Right,
I rented out.
it's you lose the grandfathering if the use which is no longer permitted stops for more than a year.
Yeah, I don't know this one. That's right.
So that's a problem, and it's been closed for a couple of years at least, right?
Around 2 years. Last
years?
summer I should open. Last summer I started renovation. put
No,
new
but
sign.
when was the last time it actually functioned as a restaurant?
Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
I think 2 years.
Just looking at the application, you need what's called a use variance, and that's a very difficult thing to get, and we need very specific pieces of information in order to consider it. And I mean, I understand you don't know the law and all that kind of stuff, but it's a very difficult thing to get, and there's very specific pieces of information that you have to supply to us. It's a heavy burden to get the use permit, and the case law is pretty tough on it. And just looking at this, and I know you made a good faith effort to fill out the application, and I appreciate it, but there's not enough here for us to consider granting you a use variance.
You're talking about the environmental?
No, well, I don't know if the environmental
Environmental,
documents have been
I have,
filed.
when I bought this property, I have all report everything.
Right. But what I'm getting at is things, for example, there's multiple tests that you have to show to us you meet. For example, providing us financial documentation. There's multiple tests that have to be very well documented for us to even really consider giving you the use variance. My suggestion to you would be...
The application is a good beginning.
It's a good beginning.
The test is addressed in the application, but...
But I'm not doing anything like a structural only change or anything. Just I'm doing some
I
furniture
understand.
and some equipment, which one is old, and carpet, and some fans, some, again, do some painting, whatever necessary.
I understand.
I'm not changing any plumbing, electric, or structural,
No.
nothing.
No,
It's-
I understand what you're saying to me, but unfortunately, the law requires us to have a lot of information in order to give you that use back, which you lost by you lost the grandfathering because the business was,
Cessation of the use.
yeah, for over a year. So and I agree with John, it's a good start, but there's, in my mind, and my board members could differ with what I feel, there's not enough here for us to consider the application, to give it a fair shot. And I think what you really need to do is to amend it, but I think you probably, and this is my suggestion to you, is to engage, a professional who can help you through this process, because it's a very hard standard to meet.
Okay, so I have to hire like a architect or attorney or,
A planning consultant or a lawyer,
okay,
a lawyer that does land use law.
okay.
Because otherwise, based upon what we have here, there's not enough information for us to reasonably consider the application. The law is very strict in this area, and we really need to have a lot of information to justify giving you the use variance.
Okay.
That's just what, the law kind of handcuffs us a little bit. We have to get all this information, so.
Do you want to ask the other board members? if-
Yeah, what do you guys think?
I mean, I guess my first read of this is that, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, that all of the tests need to be met, right? And I'm just looking at number 4, that the alleged hardship has not been self-created, and the answer is, the alleged hardship was not self-created because we were unaware.
Right.
I think that is self-created.
Well, it may be, it may very well be. I don't think we can draw conclusions based on the information that's on the board right
Because
now.
I don't know even I need a permission, because last time was closed more than a year, 2011. And I did open, only they come for an inspection for fire, and they say you need a fire monitoring alarm system. So we put $7,000, put all fire monitoring alarm system, and we done 5 years. And I don't know anything.
Yeah.
So my son.
I think that the board understands your circumstances, and thank you for explaining that. I think what the chairman's trying to say is that the elements of the test that are set forth on the application are complicated. From the board standpoint, there's a lot of evidence that needs to come in front of the board in order for them, before they can be in a position to make a decision about this. What that documentation is, this is not your fault, but it's something that's not readily apparent from reading the application. This is a very, use variances are unusual applications. It's been years since this board has really seen an application for one. And it would really, in other words, for the board to be in the best position to be able to make a good decision about this, it needs to have as much of that information as possible. And I think that Scott is right, that if you were to talk to a planner or to a land use lawyer, they're going to understand immediately what we're saying and be able to be helpful to you in terms of developing the information that you need to add to your application to put the board in a better position. Does that make any sense to you?
Okay, so here is some question.
Oh, sure.
I don't mind.
So sorry, my name is Madi. Good evening.
Good evening.
So this use variance, is it for, what is the purpose of that? Is it for renting, for using the second floor and the
For,
restaurant?
yeah, for both.
Gotcha.
For the restaurant use and also for the apartment.
Okay.
And just as an example, in the first test, you have to show that you can't realize a reasonable return without, having this variance, and that requires numbers. You really have to show that the only way you can get a reasonable return back is by utilizing it in this manner. And so we need numbers, we really need a lot of information to show that this is the only way you can get a reasonable return. And then there's other tests too, and that's why, area variances, which are the other type of variances, are relatively easy to consider, and maybe you don't need a professional to help you through that. But this, you really need to have a professional to help you through the steps, and the case law that's been developed since the 1930s is really rough. It's a high standard to make. So that's why you really need to engage a professional. We could accept this application, but it wouldn't do you any good because we don't have enough information to reasonably consider the application, or the request. And so that's why I think my proposal, or my thought is to not accept the application this evening and have,
So we're not turning any clocks on.
Right.
Because we have certain time periods by which decisions have to be made. So by not accepting it, we're not going to be turning a clock on. And it's going to give you an opportunity to get some more information, consult with somebody and get some more information.
Understood. Now, does the use variance also apply if we just open as a restaurant and not rent the second floor of the business?
Yeah, in the current zoning, in the RC5, restaurants are not permitted, and neither are mixed uses. So with your application, you technically need two variances, one just for the restaurant, and then another one if you also wanted to have an apartment on there too.
Understood. Okay. Do you have any questions?
So I need to hire any, architect to make it how I'm doing?
A planning consultant, which is a person who's a planner.
an attorney who does the land
Or
use.
a lawyer that does land use and zoning work.
Understood. And, this business has been running since the 1970s.
I
And,
understand.
But unfortunately, you had the gap, and with that year gap, then you lose the grandfathering, and that's the problem.
But
I don't know even.
Huh?
I don't know even before I call town.
No, I understand you didn't know, but unfortunately,
Time
not having knowledge of the law doesn't mean that you can't, you don't have to follow it, and that's the problem, because once you stop the use for a year, you lost the grandfathering, and then you needed to get a use variance, and it's a very difficult standard. So I guess I'm just urging you to give yourself the best shot is to consult a professional who can lead you through this, because it's not a simple process.
So how can I find who is the right person for planning information, anything? Like who professional person I can hire? But I don't know right now.
Well, I would just look up, attorneys who can, who specialize in land use in this area.
Land.
And
land-
Commercial
Com-
land use.
Commercial land use or just land use in general? I think we're precluded from giving you names and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to help you. I feel sorry for you. But
If you call the Dutchess County
Bar
Bar
Association.
Association, they may be able to to give you some names, yep. They're down in Poughkeepsie.
But currently in that zone, it's not allowed to open a restaurant at the
Correct.
moment?
That's right, that's right.
Okay.
Could you briefly define what is RC5, which is rural countryside? I call it that. I don't have the code, but I don't either.
Yep.
In other words, I think if they understand what zone they are in, that a restaurant and/or use is prohibited. You're not in a zone that allows that. So that,
In the back of the zoning law, there's a table that you'll find the map if you go online, if you go on,
Eco.
yeah, can you write down
Yeah.
the address? Can write, and so if you go online, you'll be able to find a copy of the map, all right? And you're in,
I have survey.
Okay. Serve that. So you guys-
so you're in rural countryside 5, okay? So this table, everything down here, will tell you what uses are allowed, okay? And you can go through all this, take this with you. And you'll see the restaurant isn't allowed right now, and when you stop the use for more than a year, then the fact that you were doing it before doesn't count anymore. So you're asking permission to be able to do something at your site that isn't allowed by the zoning law. That's why the test is so difficult.
How do you have enough
So,
information to justify?
anyway, that'll show you what other uses are allowed, and Kim will give you the address for the,
So, I mean,
That's what you're looking for, right? Eco?
yep. So there's a website that has all the town codes for the state of New York. This is on there, and Rhinebeck is on there. You'll find it once you go.
This is what it looks like when you,
Okay.
chapter 125 zoning, see here's the zoning map.
Now,
And Chris is in the ZBA office. She's another resource for you that if you have questions, you can go in and talk to her. If she's not able to answer them, she can talk to us and we'll get.
So if I hire professional person, planner, whoever do planning, so I can get permission to open or no?
It doesn't guarantee
board
it.
will
No, it doesn't
decide.
guarantee it. You need it so you can give us an application so that you have at least a shot of us, granting the application. But now the application as it stands, we don't have enough information.
what's like the average timeline? Because we do have a lien on this property, so we're trying to, keep up with it.
It really depends on when you get the application to us. Typically, depends on the complexity of the application, but it's a several-month process.
The problem is that when we got this property, it was sold as a business, so we're paying, quite hefty monthly payments that we're paying on time, but
Right.
as a restaurant, not as a, empty place.
I mean,
So,
And that's why I think it's that makes it that much more important that you consult somebody who knows how to lead you through this so that you get it to us as quickly as possible in its best form as possible so we can, best consider it.
understood.
But I do wonder if, John, we should just try to make clear that there is a risk that you might spend whatever it is, 3 months or however long it takes, and X thousands of dollars, and it fails. Right? I just think it's important to understand that risk, because it's not a guarantee that the board would approve it, since, of course, we don't know.
Or the board will be able to approve it. I mean, the board makes a judgment about whether you meet the test. It's
Right.
their job is to apply the test. They're not just making decisions about whether they like particular uses or not.
Right, so hopefully ideally what we want to be able to do is to see whether or not objective tests are met. And we have no idea if you'll be successful, so I think we should just emphasize that it's risky. But I don't know, so
So it gives you a shot, because now you don't have a shot. I mean, the application is just deficient. But it is no guarantee.
Understood.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't.
So I don't know, anybody else have any questions, concerns? No, I mean, at this point in time, I would,
Entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that we not accept the application in its present form. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Chris, do you want us to wait for you? No. Okay. All right, now we have our public hearings, and the first one that's on is the Brown case. So if you could step up and grab the mic and explain, is there anybody here for the Brown application? Okay. So if you can just explain what the application is about, and then you can ask whatever questions or concerns you have, and we'll take it from there. So if you could identify
So
yourself.
hi, I'm Jerry Thorpe. I own Bayhorse Gazebos and Barns up in Red Hook. We proposed and actually built without permission a pavilion last winter for Miss Brown on the corner. She lives on the corner of Primrose Hill and Old Route 9 behind the Trooper Barracks. Her property is unique in that it abuts 2 road frontages, and the back of her property is such a cliff that there's really no other place for a structure to be put to serve as any kind of a shelter for her vehicle. She has an electric vehicle, so she's trying to do the right thing carbon footprint-wise. We needed coverage for it and a place to attach electric to. So basically what we did was we put an umbrella over top of an existing driveway, and we built it out of wood so it blended into the environment. And then Ms. Brown's house is also a natural wood structure. So we think it lends to the property. We did not go through the process, and we know that, so here we are in front of you now to make amends and to fill out the process, to do the process and honor the process as it's supposed to be done.
Okay. Do you have any questions or concerns?
This is Ms. Brown?
Mrs. Brown, nice
yes.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Is there anybody here for this application, the Brown application?
Board plan.
Doesn't look like it. Do the board members have any questions, concerns?
I drove by the site visit so I can see what we were talking about in terms of the location and the setting.
What were your thoughts?
I thought it looked nice.
Good, thank you.
And I could see what you meant about the back of the property. It looked nicer in person than in the photograph.
Yeah. I totally appreciate the process. I'm an advocate for zoning, I'm an advocate for building departments. We unfortunately were pushing the clock, and we just seem to always be faced with some kind of an obstacle, and we were afraid of the winter last year, and here comes winter again. So I know there's a slap on the wrist, and we knew we did the wrong thing, but we're here to make it right, or attempt to make it right.
Okay, so we have, just to be clear, 2 front yard setbacks, correct?
Yeah.
Per lot. And the accessory structure, this structure is in front of the principal dwelling. Those are the
Yes.
3 that I believe were
So
considered, correct?
it's in violation of both, Scott. It's on the side road, we're too close,
Yep.
and on the main road, we're too close. So we needed 2.
I remember we first saw this maybe 6 months ago, yeah? So what was,
Yeah.
okay, 4
Well,
months.
it got adjourned a couple of times.
Yeah, I had a lot of personal things that were going on that I couldn't meet your calendar.
Oh, I see. Nothing to do with the project? just-
No, not at all, just it was,
No, it's been
it was life,
completed
life
for a
was
while.
happening.
When was it built?
Last November, December, I think we did it, yeah.
So it's about a year old.
Yeah.
What size is that one?
12 by 20, 24.
Have a 12 by 20.
12 by 20.
Oh, but I think, are you asking about the lot?
Oh, did.
She's asking the lot size,
Oh, I'm
that's the
sorry, I didn't hear
pavilion
that.
size.
Do you know how much acreage you have?
98% of an acre.
Oh, okay.
So just shy of.
Yeah.
About an acre.
Half of which probably is that cliff or mountain.
Point eight.
So,
It's been a while, but I'll remind you that the planning board did respond to the referral on this and expressed no concern about the application.
and we accept it as complete,
Yeah, they responded back in July, it looks like.
Yep.
postponed until tonight, okay. Yeah, I remember this one. I didn't have any concerns.
Any questions, concerns? Nothing? Okay. Thank you, and at this point in time, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. We have 62 days from today to render a resolution. It'll probably be done by the next date, which is sometime in November. November 14th?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
November 14th, yes.
November 14th. So we should have a decision on that resolution. You don't have to be here, but we, even though we have 62 days.
We can find out the answer that night?
Sure. The more the merrier if you want to come by, but you don't have to be here. But we should, Catherine, we should be able to have a resolution by that evening.
Who's this?
If we could do that, so the idea is to do our due diligence here and then now interact with the building department.
Okay.
Make sure everything's there and close it out. That's our hope.
Yeah. I'll be ready.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, the next case is 5. Baby. Baby? My apologies. Is there anyone here for that application, the Baden application?
Wayne Baden.
Okay, Mr. Baden. Nice to meet you. All right, you're no rookie. Take it away and explain what you want to do.
Good evening, I'm Warren Smith, architect representing Wayne Baden. Wayne, property at 145 Württemberg Road. This is 9G here. This is Slate Quarry Road, and this is where Württemberg Road crosses Slate Quarry. And this piece of property from Slate Quarry up to this point is currently one lot. The parcel has a historic house on it with a small barn and garage at this end of it, the northern end of it. And to the south of the house, it has what was a barn that was converted some years ago to an office. And it was a home office because it was all on the same parcel. What Wayne would like to do now is to subdivide the parcel, which is allowed in the zoning district, create two parcels such that the house will be on one parcel and the barn converted to an office can be converted to a residence on the other parcel. And so to that end, we proposed a subdivision that we actually received a conditional approval from the planning board Monday night, the condition being that we are granted area variances from the zoning board. So the reason we need area variances are, in this district, it's also RC5, there's a minimum side yard setback of 50 feet required between the building and the property line. We have less than 100 feet between the existing house and the existing barn. So just splitting the lot line between the two, we're going to need variances, not significant ones, but variances to allow that subdivision to occur. So that is the gist of the application before the zoning board.
So 2 side yards and they're like 1.5 or 2.5 feet, depending on which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I will tell you what we put on the application. We're asking for 47.8 feet versus 50 on one parcel and 48.5 on the other. And that was simply to avoid a couple of existing trees, otherwise it would have been exactly in the middle. Or proposed to be.
Okay, and I do note that the planning board, by letter dated October 2nd, 2018, found that there were no significant planning or environmental issues. So they've responded to us. And you said they gave conditional approval?
Yes,
This on
obviously,
Monday?
not prejudging what this board would do, but if this board sees fit to grant the variances, we will not need to return to the planning board.
Would you be so kind as to just remind us where the wells and septics are?
Yes. So the well for this building is here. The well for this building is here, there's a W. And the well for the house is directly behind the house. The septic system for the converted barn is here. And the septic system for the house is behind the house. I have from this is a survey, but from the county approval of the septic system for the barn some years ago, it locates the septic system for the house as right out in here where this marker is. Yep.
Questions, concerns?
So John, this would raise the issue of the well and the setback that you addressed for us?
Yes.
Okay.
And just to make the record clear, since I'm going to do the Mulligan situation, Dave has graciously agreed to take this application for me.
Okay.
Just put your notes there. I don't have any questions or concerns. It's pretty straightforward. Last call? No? All right. At this time, I'd make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we should have a resolution done at by the next meeting. As you know, we have 62 days, but we'll get it done, and we'll have a resolution then. You don't have to be here, as you know, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott, did you do a site visit yet?
I have not done a site visit.
Okay.
Although I've been to the site many times.
That's true.
I know it intimately.
I just didn't, just for, and usually in our resolutions, we have a site visit. I just didn't know if anyone was going to.
I'll do one.
Do you want
I've been
to?
there several times too.
Yeah.
I'd say Scott's familiar with the site.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
That's true,
know the
yeah,
site.
yeah.
Right. And Dave, you've been out there before.
Several times, yeah.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is the Mulligan application. Is there someone here for Mr. Mulligan? How are you? I think you were here the last time, so you know the process. If you could pick up the mic. Sure. And state your name and just explain to the audience. Is there anybody here for the Mulligan application? Okay. We have some folks in the audience. Mr. Mulligan will explain what he wishes to do, and then once he's done with that, you have the opportunity to come on up here, express your opinions. If you have questions, just to give you more information about the application, okay? So why don't you start?
Jeffrey Mulligan, I'm the owner of Lot 23 in Sapasco. What we're looking to do is we need 3 variances to build a 3-bedroom house. As it's a corner lot, we need to meet 2 front yard setbacks, which are 50 feet in this neighborhood. For the actual front of the house, which is going to be on Center Street, we're looking for a setback of 36 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood. For the side of the house, which is going to be on Beach Street, we need a setback variance of 22 feet. And we also have a 3rd variance that we need for the proposed garage, which per the town law is saying that it's sitting in front of the structure. It's actually sitting on the side of the structure. So we need a variance to get that approved. Because it's a corner lot, yes.
All right. I'll take whoever wants to come on up and ask questions of Mr. Mulligan about the application. Don't be shy. Come on up. But I'd ask that you, when you come up, state your name, and then you can ask whatever question you wish.
Or make comments.
Or make comments. It's better if you go up there so Fred can get you on TV and we can have it recorded.
I'm sorry, but my agent didn't hear that. No, what is the setback for the garage?
garage? Because you're saying 36 and 22, which are two roads already.
The setback on the garage side is the 22. So the garage is going to need to be set back 22 feet from the property line.
But you said the 1 yard setback was 36, the other yard was 22, and then you needed another variance for the garage.
The house is actually going to be facing, the true front door of the house will be facing Center Street. That setback, we are asking for 36 feet from the property line. Beach Street is going to be the side of the house, that's the side where the garage is going to be. That setback, we're looking for 22 feet from the property line.
So the garage is going to stick out farther than the actual, like the rest of the facade of the house?
Yes,
And what's that setback going to be?
22 feet.
Right, for the
Okay,
garage,
that's,
but
that's brown.
the part that's back behind the garage, right? The garage is going to jut out, so is the garage going to be flush with that setback?
This is,
Maybe if you, I think you have a diagram in your application showing the house. So maybe if you could just put that up, and if it shows the footprint of where the house is proposed to be.
That, I don't know if I have.
well, we have the site plan on
We have the
the
site plan in
computer.
there.
Yeah, I know.
We have this one, I think this is, concern is where the house is going to be situated in the garage. Do you have that?
Do I have that? I might have that.
I've got it right here.
I don't have it in a big one.
Would you like, well, why don't you come up so you can see where the house is proposed to be placed, and that'll probably give you a better idea.
Yeah, I only have the same size.
And if anybody else wants to come on up and just to see.
Yeah, we gotta, Dave was saying, we gotta keep working on a projection system. But anyway,
Yeah.
Elizabeth's down for it. We just gotta,
It's not even expensive, $500.
well, more like 3,000 or 4,000. Yeah.
Look at projector.
Well, we're not talking about a projector, we're talking about maybe a TV that you can just hook your.
Is there a screen that drops down?
No, and that's what we gotta figure out.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be that this room's not oriented right, because that's the wall, that's the.
And maybe if you folks, again, could identify yourselves for the record, and then ask Mr. Mulligan whatever questions, and give whatever comments you have.
They're interested in what the setbacks are, the actual footage of the setbacks, and why this is 50, and now we need to get a 22-foot setback on a corner lot.
Right. And part of the problem here is Pasco, and there's other areas in Rhinebeck, where the zoning law has changed, so that if you want to put anything, on the lot, you need a variance. And this is kind of along those lines, if you want to put.
In other words, the small lot sizes were established before the setbacks were set, and the setback gets set for the whole zone.
Right.
And, Sapasco is a community that has a unique layout, and so anyway, that's the reason why, even though the lot existed before, he's not able to meet the setbacks.
Because the law changed in 2009.
Yep.
And so this is not the first time we've seen this. This does happen from time to time. It's a Pasco and some other areas in town.
No, this is just one of the more larger lots, but now I understand better because it's a corner lot.
Right.
Right.
So it's dealing from both sides, not
Right,
just one side.
and under the law, so because it's a corner, he has actually 2 front yards.
And also, the question came up that these are setbacks from the property line, not the street. So if you're
Yeah,
standing in the
because
street thinking
it was
it's going to be
some-
22 feet, it actually is not. It's going to be, I don't know
Further
what the
back.
it's whatever the property line from the road to that property line is, add that onto it.
Okay.
Yeah, the concern was like there were 3 variances, but that's why we wanted to see.
Could you identify yourself?
Susan Carson, I'm a neighbor.
Right.
I'm backing on to your lot. That's why I have a concern about the size, because I will be seeing your house.
It'll be
See
beautiful.
mine.
It'll be beautiful.
That was like 3 variances. That was a concern in the neighborhood, I know, for a lot of people.
One of them kind of snuck up on me, but that's okay.
Well, there's
I
actually
just
2 of
have-
them kind of sneak up on you because you're the corner lot. If you're
Right.
the corner lot, you probably only need 1.
Yeah, but I'm a corner lot as well, but my house pre-existed, might be purchasing it, so I
Right.
didn't have to deal with that. But I just do have I have no idea.
Someone just-
But my house is pretty far back.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly footage.
I noticed, I actually did a site visit last week, and some are set back farther than the 50 feet, and then there's some that are closer.
Majority of them are farther back. The majority seem to be farther back.
Yeah, I didn't get out there with a measure.
Yeah, but we were advised by Mr. Staley that most houses in the area need variances because the lots are odd-sized. So, but I just have one question. I am actually, my property abuts says, my name is Caroline Positek, and if you want me to spell that, Poczzatek. I still have to do it. Anyway.
What's your address?
301 Sapasco Lake Drive.
Thank you.
Anyway, but I don't know why I wasn't notified. Like, other than the little sign sitting out in front of the property, I was never notified of this hearing. And I just don't know why I was
You should have
never
been.
notified.
No, you were.
No, I wasn't.
One second, I have a list.
I mailed a letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a PO box?
No. 301 Sapasco Lake Drive, Rhinebeck.
What's the distance for notifications?
500.
500 feet. So maybe.
But my property abuts theirs.
Yeah, no, you should definitely should have gotten it.
Yep.
You're not
I went off the list that was
I'm not
provided
even
by
on
the
the
town.
Right.
That sounds like our error.
Okay, but I just, in the future, you know, we had something else with the lake and I was never notified, and I'm the house that's next to the lake, so it's.
Okay, well, it's the assessor's office that generates the lists, and I know Don has been out, and there's a new assessor also, so.
I just didn't have any idea what you guys were planning.
Yep.
So it's like.
That's fair.
Okay, I have to
Yep.
Do you
go.
want to see what that, I mean, you gave plans as to what the house was going to look like, maybe that.
Right, oh no, and that actually helped very much, but I just had no idea.
Did were you shown?
Yeah, well, I briefly saw that he was planning to, be within the bounds of his property, which is okay.
And part of the other reason, I think, that's set forth in the application is you need room for the septic and the well.
Oh, absolutely, I have a septic and a well too, I mean, we all do, not city. Anyway,
She's on that
that's all.
list?
I just was curious.
Ladies, do you have any other,
No, she's not.
So partial access.
And neither is the old owner, so it isn't.
It's not Montoya either.
It only gets updated twice a year, once a year.
I've been here for 15 years.
do you have any other questions, comments, concerns?
Do you have a drawing of, like, the front of the house?
Right
Yep.
there.
Why don't you show it?
And what, I just, one off the cuff question, like, what is the square footage of the proposed house?
Approximately 2,500 square feet, I think.
Wow. Ours is a small community and these lots are small. This is a concern.
Well, that's one of the larger lots, though.
Yes,
if you look at the
if you
map.
look at a corner lot and you take a variance on 2 sides.
Mom's, hers was about 2,500.
Is it only the garage?
So is this Sapasco
That's center.
Center?
Correct.
Okay.
And then this will be also center. How is this center and
That's
that
beach.
center?
So that's going to be like.
So this is on my side?
Like
okay.
across from Conville's driveway.
Okay, yeah. So the garage, that's the garage.
Correct.
So if the garage is on that side, I thought you said the garage was on Center Street.
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right, okay, all right. Sorry, I got confused. Okay.
Yeah, we were just concerned that this was just going to be thought of as a formality when we actually had questions about the size for, even for the lot in our development. It's hard to tell from the picture.
No, this is not a formality, that's why we have the public hearings,
I don't know what
and it's great that you guys are out here voicing your concerns, and gives us more
Yeah.
information to consider.
Yeah.
Here's the site plan, if you need to see.
That's,
Yeah, it shows it better on John's
that's,
computer.
that's what faces me. I got it.
Yeah, you can see.
And how many bedrooms you said?
Is it right?
How many beds?
No, I don't know if that's, it's bedrooms we're talking about.
No, I'm just thinking,
Yeah, but usually they judge,
Septic is judged off the bedroom, it's not that much.
No, but just the.
yeah, but taxes are based on bathrooms.
Well, keep it open.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I'm saying.
Yeah,
Especially with people just seeing everything tonight.
First time,
Yeah, it looks,
Well, if you want, or let me offer this to you, do you want or need more information in order for you to feel comfortable that you know, have all the information?
no, because I don't know if this is like a regular, what would be a regular variance, because I don't know feet-wise, I can't.
There
Yeah.
variances run the gamut, so.
What a variance
One
is-
of the things that, what happens here is that the board has to apply a test, and one of the elements of the test is the substantiality of the variance. In other words, how far will whatever's being requested vary from what the allowed limit is. So- And that's one of 5 elements.
Right, and for example, you know, its effect on the neighborhood.
Character of the
Right.
neighborhood.
There's 5 factors.
Yeah, because there were 3 variances, and did you turn these variances down, or they denied?
No, we're considering them. That's, the application has
them.
been made to us. We accepted the application at the last meeting, and then this is the public hearing where we get to hear from the neighbors what you think. So we
Yeah.
can consider, so we haven't made a decision yet
Yeah,
on the variances.
yeah, because,
So let me, I guess, I'm getting the sense, and I think John has the same sense, is that you're getting a lot of this information tonight for the first time.
Absolutely.
And I don't want this to be a rushed kind of situation for you. So what we can do is we can keep this hearing open for the next hearing in November, if you want more time to consider this application.
And make
And
comments.
the application
I mean,
Is
is,
there a way that I can get a copy of this sent to my email?
yes, the application is available, it's a public record.
Okay.
So you can talk to Chris about getting copies of it.
Okay.
It's up to, I don't know how, but you can usually just at least view it certainly at the
Right,
office.
just view it.
Have you submitted those renderings that you, how the house looks to?
Chris hasn't.
Chris hasn't, okay, so you can get all that information.
I would say yes, because I know some neighbors really wanted to come tonight, and they're ill, they couldn't come.
Yeah, a couple of
That's-
older people.
Well, I mean,
Tom
just-
had an abscess on his
Yeah.
tooth, but anyway. No, stuff happens.
Yeah.
But we were all kind of curious exactly how the layout would be and how it would change our community, because it's a very small community if you've actually been there.
Yeah.
And,
Sometimes.
Pretty
I
tight.
don't think there's a variance for the size of the house.
no, I'm not talking about the size of the house, but when we just got a notice, well, the only notice I got was my neighbor said, look at the sign in front of his house. And I
You know what,
looked
I
and
would
it said
ask-
3 variances, less than 50 feet.
I think that's very important. Maybe Chris could check with the tax assessor, the list and how it was generated, and perhaps you're being left off on many things.
I know, and I do pay my taxes, so.
With one exception.
By mail, I'm a little concerned
I haven't
about
heard
mail.
from anybody being notified by mail.
That's
I
another
didn't ask.
concern.
Did you?
I just know that some people had told me that they wanted to come and they couldn't come.
Did you get a mailing?
Yes, I did, and
Okay.
Did you
my
get it?
neighbor did too.
Did you get a mailing?
No, I'm like one away.
I mean, for the fact alone that it seems we missed notifying,
I think
right?
we should keep it
They seem
open.
to deserve time to think about this and
Right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I don't know about the other people.
get the information.
Yeah.
Right, but
I
can you
agree.
check with the assessor's office just to make sure that
This be found
we've got
Rhinebeck
notifications out to the right
Mulligan
people? I want to make sure everybody's.
I don't know if they put it on the website or not.
That's who generates it.
What's the, sorry?
The secretary has.
I want to make sure that everybody has got.
Well, I thought you got notice from someone.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that to go back to the assessor's office? Is that the first thing?
Based on accounts.
I know.
Should go back to the assessor's office and have the list checked. I mean, not, the budding landowners not getting notice that at least one person was missed.
Okay.
A letter can be sent, we can,
But yeah.
in order to try
I'll give her
to
mine.
save Mr. Mulligan, because it's not, the error, it wasn't his fault. Maybe we can have Chris sit,
Huh? No, I
I know it's
understand.
not my fault, but
Well, my concern is, I understand your issues and you want to get moving on the project and everything else.
Yeah.
I understand. But my concern is you have neighbors, and at least one of them didn't get notification, and apparently.
others have concerns.
And others have concerns, so what
is that not why we have the multiple notices? Website, newspaper, mailings, signs posted, they've been posted.
Oh, I know, I saw your sign.
3 weeks ago.
I was out there, I was out at the sign,
Yep.
at the site, and I saw the sign right there.
So because I was following a list that I was given to by the town. that wasn't
Understood.
correct, then.
Understood, but even if all the notice was correct, the fact that there's comment and concern been expressed about this, that the board has to take that into consideration.
What's the concern? I
The concern
haven't
is
clearly
that your
understood what the
neighbors-
concerns are just yet.
My concerns are that your neighbors are not fully understanding what you want to do, and they have at least some questions and concerns, and there may be some other neighbors who could not make it, but at least some of your neighbors here who have been here tonight are not fully comfortable with having all the information they need to make comments. They're entitled to comment. They can say yay, they can say nay, they can say we don't care, whatever. And I just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to be heard.
I think the point I'm trying to make is that we've given them the opportunity.
Well, one person didn't get that opportunity, almost didn't get that opportunity because she didn't get the notification. And we want to make sure that everybody who's supposed to get notification got notification. I have some concerns. If the person next to you didn't get a notification, that's a problem.
I hear you.
And it's not your fault.
I hear you.
I'm just-
But again, I think we all have a similar concern. We want full transparency. As do I. And so we've been given
And
it.
you have been given.
But there's a second point here beside the notice, which is that, so one of the elements of the test that the board has to make a decision about is whether the variances will have an adverse impact on the character of the neighborhood. And one of the ways that the board makes that decision is to gather information from people who may be concerned or have an interest in the outcome of the decision. The board needs to have that evidence in order to be able to make the decision, and they need to be able to empower people to make their comments effectively.
And you've given a lot of that information, and I think you have allayed some of the fears that some of your neighbors have. But I just want to make sure that everybody's comfortable. And it's very routine for us to have, more than one hearing, in order to.
Keep a hearing open for more than 1 minute.
So everybody can have an opportunity to be heard and be comfortable with having all the information and making an informed decision, so.
Even when all the notices are
Are done
exactly airtight. Yep. So I have some suggestions to make.
Shoot.
I think we should counsel the members of the public who are interested in this project to contact Chris. All of the information about this application is available through Chris, through Freedom of Information. If you go see her, she'll get you copies. If you request a copy of the application, the test that the board's going to be administering is set forth in the application. So you'll not only see by getting a copy of the application what the applicant's asking for, but you'll also get an explanation of what the test the ZBA is applying, okay? If it's possible for you to, we're also concerned about proceeding in an expeditious fashion we're trying to balance everybody's interests, okay? So we're also concerned about proceeding in an expeditious fashion for the applicant. So if you look at the plans and you can take a look at them before the board's next meeting, and if you don't have any concerns, if you can just let the board know that, you can let Chris know. We'd prefer, given the fact that you came forward at the public hearing today, if you just wrote a little letter, just a few lines, and let the board know, look, I looked at the plans, I don't have any concerns. If you do have concerns, then please explain what those are to the board, and if you can submit a letter in advance of the next meeting, that will help the board members. That can be circulated to the board members before the next session, and it'll give them a chance to think about it before we open the second session of the public hearing. Does that make sense to you, Scott?
Yeah, that makes sense to me, and we'll get you a resolution very quickly. I understand your concern, and I'm very sensitive to that. But again, with the neighbors coming out and having their concerns like this, I just want to make sure that they're comfortable having all the information so they can tell us yea or nay. So I will get an expeditious, I'm doing the resolution, so you'll have an expeditious resolution. All right, so I guess at this point in time, should I
Make a motion to continue the public hearing to the November meeting.
continue the public hearing until November 14th? Can't speak.
Scott, there's another comment.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I know, Peter Dunn, 416 Pasco Center Street, just doesn't seem to be on. So going through this process myself.
Hold on one second, just because I want, Chris, can you just record, or we have a new comment?
So it's Peter Dunn, 416 Pasco Center Street. Just to let everybody know, it's my sister-in-law's husband, so. So going through this process back in 2007, I went through the same steps that Jeff's going through now. And just going through the process after meeting after meeting after meeting, what I learned was, because the development was done in 1949, nobody meets the setbacks. There isn't a house in that development that meets the setbacks. So when I went through the process, the neighbors showed up, several of them, and they wanted to complain about other houses in the development, not so much the one that I proposed to build. So when I went through it, I realized that the two variances that I went for, the town had to grant, because, this is what the town said at the time, they had to grant it because nobody meets, it was prior to all the laws, 1949. So they couldn't deny my application. So by the fourth meeting, the town finally agreed with the lawyer that I had to hire at the time to say, you have to grant this application because nobody meets the setbacks on the house I proposed to build. My house is 2,100 square feet on a half-acre lot, which is smaller than, my lot's smaller than Jeff's. So just to be through this process, going through it myself, realizing meeting after meeting after meeting, then they finally determined, well, we have to grant this application. Just speaking from experience, what I went through.
Well, we don't have to grant the application, but I will tell you this, we're not going to have meeting after meeting after meeting.
Right, well, that's what I got to. By the fourth meeting, I was like, how much longer does this go on? And the town finally said, we have to grant your application. None of the houses in there meet the setbacks. I'm 15 feet on one side and 25 feet on the other.
No, I understand. And I know, and I was probably on the board, I know I was on the board at that point.
Right.
I don't remember the application.
Right.
And you were correct, many of the properties don't.
Nobody meets.
But I assure Mr. Mulligan that this is not going to go on and on and on, as in your case.
Right.
I'll tell you that right now.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it.
But thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before you move to carry the public hearing over to the November meeting?
Thank you. I got lost in the, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
I would just make one comment for the neighbors who seem to be concerned about what setbacks are versus other setbacks. The Dutchess County parcel access map, if you have access to a computer, has some great tools you can measure pretty discreetly from building to road, building to property line, building to that. you could do a little looking to see what the setbacks are, what's actually in place there.
Yep.
And what was that website?
It's the Dutchess County Parcel Access,
Parcel access, okay.
and, it gives you a top-down view, you can see where the houses are, shows the property lines. I think it's fairly accurate.
Close enough for
Yeah.
for what we're doing.
Yeah, to get an
Right.
idea.
Thank
We'll
you.
do it before the next hearing.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Next is Rockland, Lotus Energy. Is there somebody here for that? Is there anyone here for Rockland, Lotus Energy? Well, I don't see it. I mean, I'm sorry, not the audience.
Public,
Anybody in the
public.
audience?
Hey, good evening. My name is Kyle Montag. I'm here from Lotus Solar out of Hudson, New York. Proposing a ground-mounted solar system at 20 Haggerty Hill Road. Basically what we're looking to do here is install a residential pole-mounted tracking system. This is for on-site consumption on residential property. The reason we are here is we need to look at two variances. The first being a height variance. I believe the town's code is for 15 feet. We're looking to raise that to 20 feet. This is a pole-mounted system. Most pole-mounted systems are actually often taller than a stationary ground mount, which is what you see in a lot of the big commercial solar farms. And the second variance that we have here is that we're looking to put it in what's considered the front yard of the property, which is actually 840 feet back from Haggerty Hill Road. The property is very well screened. We chose a location that was wide open in direct sun, so we don't have to remove any further trees. I think the board was out there today, and they can attest that it's in a good location, very hard to see from the road or any other properties. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, Kevin and I went out today. I remember when you presented at the last meeting, and the owner said if you had a picture from any other place, you would just see trees, and that's very true. Because when you're there and on the property, it's a very small installation in comparison to the scale of the property and scale of the open area.
So the picture I brought with me today is just an example of an identical tracker that we've installed in a smaller lot, just for reference.
So there's one or more of those proposed?
Just one.
Just one?
Yep.
This application was also approved by the planning board, or issued a conditional approval by the planning board on Monday night, pending action by the ZBA on the variance.
And for the record, the planning board also responded to our referral by letter dated October 2nd, 2018, saying that there were no significant planning and environmental issues. I don't have any questions, but any other questions, concerns?
Nope.
Was anybody here from the public? I didn't catch it. You guys know? Nobody showed up to the planning board meeting either.
All right. Since we seem to be satisfied with the application, again, at this point, I'd make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, Catherine, do you have this one? I do. All right. We have 62 days from today to get the resolution done, and, but typically we do it by the next meeting, which is November 14th. You don't have to be here. If you want, you can. Otherwise, you can just call Chris the next day, and we can let you know what happened.
Sure.
All right?
Perfect. Thank you.
It's in November 13th is the next one.
The rest of them came yesterday. Okay, and the last matter is Kearney. Is there anybody here for the Kearney application?
I'm from Neighbors Gun Club, and they asked me to come over just to hear what's going on.
Okay.
I'm Brennan Carney, identifying myself as a town board member as well as an applicant. So, same thing we discussed last month. I understand Chris got the previous application to you all. That was one question, right? I'm looking for 2 variances, please. One, for my lot size to be 2 acres in a 5-acre zone, and also to increase the permitted square footage for a detached accessory dwelling from the permitted 900 square feet to a requested 1,480 square feet. And just to remind you all, this is the main house, and this is what would be the accessory dwelling, right here. This is accurate running along here.
Okay, and as I recollect, there's not going to be any change to the footprint of the
Not at all.
accessory structure. You're just building the entire thing out on the side.
Yep.
Clarification from the site visit. You're not having to build out the overhanging part.
The overhanging part,
In the back.
where the that storage area?
Yeah,
Nope.
right. I just want.
Stay storage.
Yeah. What do you call it?
Storage, I guess.
Day storage?
Stay somewhere.
Oh,
No, it's gonna stay as storage, yeah. Day storage, night storage, all-time storage.
All right, yeah, Tim and I went out and did a site inspection, so we could lay the land.
I have no questions.
Yeah, I have no questions. Just for the record, the planning board did respond to our referral by letter dated October 2nd, 2018, and they found that there were no significant planning or environmental issues.
We had a discussion last time about, and I just wanted to clarify in the discussion today, we had a discussion about whether you needed to live there to have an accessory structure that was rented, and I got the memo and I read through it, but John, could you just clarify for
Oh, yeah, I
discussion
didn't get it,
tonight?
so tell me.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
it's fine.
yeah, I think I did
No, but I'm curious to know the answer.
promise, but the,
Cool, thank you.
owner occupation is required for both detached and
Okay, for both.
accessory dwelling units within a principal residence.
Wait.
So for both an
Sorry.
apartment in your residence, a contained apartment that's inside the primary structure, and the detached, owner occupancy is required for both.
Yes.
For
When
6
the unit
months?
is inside the residence, the apartment has to be separate, and the owner of the property has to live in one of the units, either the apartment or the principal residence, at least 6 months out of the year. And then for a detached, the requirement isn't as specific, but the property owner has to be in one of the units.
In one of the units.
And
Okay.
that was my understanding, so that's
Okay.
good, because I'm prepared for that information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I
just
keep
wanted
this,
to
or
make
do you
sure.
want?
Yes, you can have that,
Cool. I
yeah.
mean, I don't know, why not, right?
Okay, thank you.
Put it in my pocket. Thanks, Tom.
All right, any questions, concerns, comments?
No.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. We have 62 days. You've been listening. 62 days. Thank you. By the way, let me just backtrack. Sir, I assume that you didn't have any comments?
What she does, I don't care. They just wanted me to come.
Okay.
Did you make it sound like a little?
I hope you get what you're looking for.
Okay,
You
and
are
also,
lovely neighbors, and thank you very much.
Well,
and a copy of the application can be got through Chris Worfenbrenner. If you want to have something to bring back to your fellow club members. Okay.
all right, thank you. We have 62 days. We'll have a resolution most likely by November 14th.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Bye, Chris, thank you.
Okay, that does it for the items on the agenda. I don't think we have any old business, do we? John?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
All right, any business?
At all?
At all?
No.
All right, then, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
All right,
We're done.
thank you.
Thank you, Fred.